The telegraph was invented in 1844 by Samuel Morse. Telegraph wires quickly sprung up along the east coast of the United States. There were 15,000 miles of wires for military purposes by the time of the war, which allowed the military and reporters to distribute and communicate information in a timely fashion.
The Civil War was the first war to use railroads, and President Lincoln, who was a former railroad lawyer, encouraged the idea. Railroads were a vital piece in moving men and supplies throughout the war. North had an advantage because they had over 20,000 miles of track along with better equipment and their own locomotives. In the South, they didn't have a very strong railroad system, but they were among the first to use railroads to their advantage, and it worried the Union. The North's Secretary of War, Simon Cameron, was forced to resign when it was discovered he was trying to profit from the War Department contracts for railroad shipping.
Early in the war, President Lincoln established a balloon corps. The first aero recon balloon occurred in August of 1861. Union and Confederate soldiers used these hydrogen-filled balloons to float above their enemies' encampments to gather information to send back to their commanders via telegraph. This allowed ground forces to be repositioned, and they informed commanding officers of the Confederates' or Union's movements. And Edward Porter Alexander, a Confederate artillerist, said that skilled observers in a balloon could give information of priceless value. These aero recon balloons were also able to accurately fire at troops that were more than 3 miles away. This was a first in military history.
The rifle was a major weapon during this time and advanced a lot throughout the war. Rifling was invented right before the start of the war and made it so bullets could spin and travel farther. The rifle musket did not have rifling and used the mini bullet, and the rifle musket and the mini bullet are thought to account for 9% of Civil War casualties. This firearm could only shoot one bullet at a time and only up to 250 yards. During the war, the rifle had been invented and could shoot up to 1,000 yards and more accurately. There was an issue though. The rifle was hard to load because the barrel and the bullet were close to the same diameter. They started to realize that the cone-shaped bullet flew through the air better and traveled farther with more accuracy. The cones were also easier to load. Then in 1860, Christian Spencer invented the repeating rifle. This rifle could shoot 7 shots in 30 seconds and was easier to load. This rifle was only available to the North and was very accurate. They say we are not fair and we have guns that we load up on Sunday and shoot the rest of the week. That is what the South thought about the repeating rifle because they didn't have one.
Ironclads were very crucial in the wars that were fought in 1861. The North might not have won if it wasn't for the ironclad warships blocking the Confederate ports. And the South didn't have a very dedicated navy at all. In 1862, the first battle between warships occurred. North was operating the USS Monitor while the South commanded the CSS Virginia. In the end, the U.S. Monitor won and defeated all of the Confederate steamers. Confederates became very irritated with the North and their ironclad warships, so they created submarines to destroy the ironclads. Submarines were usually made of a metal tube that was 40 feet long, 4 feet across, and held an 8-man crew. In 1864, a sub called the Hunley sank a Union blockade ship, but it ultimately sunk itself in the process. When torpedoes were invented, David Farragut was ultimately remembered by giving the order, "Dan those torpedoes, full speed ahead," and claiming victory at Mobile Bay.
Technology influenced the outcome of the Civil War because without technology, nothing would get more advanced through time. And the more technology advanced itself, the better people could work together and use new weaponry and devices to win this war.